The universe is calling you. The universe is calling me. It speaks both day and night. It's full of dark and light.
Well, hello everybody. How are you? It's I, Mark D'Antonio, and something strange. Oh my God, what'd you do? Look at her face. Look at this. What's going on here? Okay. This is Tara. Hi, Tara. How are you?
Hi, Mark. Hello, everyone.
and down below we have Bill Skywatcher, our esteemed producer, without whom we cannot do any of this. Hi, Bill. How are you?
Tara might get a kick. What's up?
I'll take these off for now, only because I gotta see.
Oh, that's so much better.
It's so much better, yeah. So folks, it's been a while since we've done a live show, but we're gonna do another one tonight. We're gonna have a lot of fun. We're gonna be going over a few cool topics. If you saw in our description, we're gonna be talking about evolution of a planet, how it works, how it comes about, and then we're gonna talk about things like how we figure out distances to objects in our universe, and that's kind of important too. Now I see in the chat we've already got lots and lots of people out there watching.
Yay.
Glad to see you all here. Thank you for coming. I'd love to call you out by name, but I can't right now. But I do want to say, that this radio show started because of that guy. Okay, see that guy down there, right? That's Bill.
Not just me.
No. Keith from P&K Space Imaging and Paul. These two guys got after me to actually come on and do a radio show for one thing, and to do a stream of astronomy with our telescope. And that's where this one comes in, okay? Because Tara and Marianne Robb took the charge, and together we formed a nonprofit company with the observatory systems, and we now are able to add a second telescope out in Arizona. Yeah, I'm going to be adding, I'm going to be visiting a site in a couple of weeks, 3 or 4 weeks, I guess, or maybe before the end of February. February's over in a week, isn't it? Huh? It's like you get into it and then it's gone a week later. It's like it's a really, really short month. Mm-hmm. But then, we have out here on the East Coast, I'm actually thinking of doing something a little different. Now, behind me, you can see that it's blue. That's what my blue lighting for the show and so forth. But let me just throw on a highlight so you can see that telescope back there. You see that telescope right there? Okay. That telescope was the East Coast telescope for our Sky Tour live stream here. However, what we're doing is possibly something a little different. Tara's not heard this before. No one has, actually, because I just thought of it. I was thinking of making the East Coast Sky Tour a solar observing Sky Tour, where we work during the day and show people the really cool intricacies of the sun. And then we go live at night in Arizona with up to two different sites out there, to show people close-ups and wide field views of the universe.
Wow, that sounds cool, Mark.
It sounds like someone not getting any more sleep is what it sounds like to me.
Oh, yeah,
right? Right? Think about it. I mean, I'm not going to get any sleep, but the bottom line is, I think it's very important because we're neglecting the whole daytime.
Nobody ever looks at the sun. Yeah.
Yeah, well, if you do, it's like, my eyes. I mean, yeah, of course. No one wants to stare at the sun.
That's
not
why
a good
you
idea.
wear these, so you're staring at the sun.
That's right.
Find someone out there to possibly handle the solar part of this.
Are you saying you want the job?
Oh God, I'm too busy.
Okay.
Kidding me? I would love to, but
I think that it's going to be an automated observatory, same as Arizona. So I'd run it from this bunker here where we are. And for those who haven't seen, I mean, this is the bunker. So this is the ship there's my portholes up there on the ship. There's the walls. Okay. There's my work board.
To-do list.
Yeah, the to-do list. Yeah, I've got all kinds of stuff here. I got 3D printers in here. I've got 2 different kinds in here right now. Because when you work alone, and I have a visual effects shop, I do a lot of model work, and to make physical models of things like the moon or moon craters, you want to have the best 3D print capability. And I deal with the United States Geological Survey data, so I can bring the latest from Pluto, from the asteroids, from Mars, Mercury, all over the solar system, and 3D print these things so people can see, what does Pluto look like? Well, this is what Pluto looks like, and it can show them a printed 4-inch by 4-inch plate. These are all cool things, and we make a moon this big, we make a moon that big. It looks just, the detail is unbelievable, because the printer that's sitting over here that you can't really see right now, that printer is very, very high quality, and it
Nice.
makes things so smooth and so perfect that you don't have to do any work to the final part. You take it off and you go, ooh, you don't have to wait to work it to get rid of jagged lines or anything before you can look at it and go, ooh. That ooh comes out automatically when you take it off. It's like, ooh, see, that's 3. So you get 3 oohs for the price of 1, and it's really cool to see how this thing actually works. So that said, Sky Tour live stream is actually it's due to this person and that person in part. Okay, so it's kind of fitting to have both of you here tonight with me.
Great to be here. But can I just emphasize the ooh part for a second?
Yes.
Ooh, yes.
So when
I'm afraid, folks. When he says, I don't know what's coming now.
He doesn't. He really doesn't. When we were in Roswell last year,
Okay.
and specifically Marianne Rob's house. Now, Tara, you've been there numerous times, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
When you walk in and you see that gallery of sky,
Ooh.
now I never experienced it because I was never there before.
Yeah.
That's true.
But I'm telling folks, when you see the canvases of the images, it looks like you're walking into an art gallery of space.
It is actually. It's the Sky Tour gallery, basically.
Right.
And right, if we have people that want to meet with us or whatever, they can walk in and they walk in and like they're overwhelmed and stunned by these giant vistas of the universe all around them. And that's something that I think was it really goes to that wow factor that you need when you're trying to show people the universe and get them excited about it. You know what I mean?
It is a wow factor. If you want to add a sophistication to a room in your home, this is the kind of stuff. I mean, like I said, I had what you just said, the wow factor. It was amazing to see it and be surrounded by it. So Mark doesn't know this, and neither does Tara.
I'm afraid of it. Now I'm afraid. Okay.
Yeah. So I have a clip that he sent me that he recorded. Now, this is just the raw, unedited version. And I want to share it with everyone. And you're going to get an idea. But before I show the clip, Mark.
All right. I mean, now that you already said it, everyone's going to say, well, show it. Now they
I am. But are these canvases available?
Actually, if you go to skytourlive.org, you scroll down to get cool photographic prints. And they're all from that particular site. You can get framed under glass. You can get them printed on metal. You can get them as big canvases. Some of them are big, big canvases. And they're really imposing. You can get little tiny ones. You can get giant ones. It's amazing how this works. And the quality, I was surprised, was quite good. Tara, don't bark at me like that.
Well, I have to say, when Marianne now has on her, in her studio, I guess her gallery, the Sky Tour West images, and prior to that she had the Sky Tour East images up there.
Right.
And
where are those now, Tara?
They are big photographs, and Marianne gifted those to me when she replaced them, so I am so excited. But they're so you really can see the difference of the cameras. and the images and how much you can see of the images as well when I see the ones I have and see in her office. But you can choose from all the pictures, right, that you want, all the pictures that we've taken.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
Yeah. And we also, what's interesting is when we do a live stream, and Tara knows this, Bill knows this, but you all may not, some of you watching may not. All the photos we take are available to you to download to your computer within 30 seconds of us finishing the image, because
it takes so long.
Yeah, I know, right? Stop taking so long.
I know.
I should get it before you even take it.
In my mind's eye.
Go faster than the speed of light. Yeah.
Yes.
No. So, but the point is, okay, those are the moderate resolution. They're not the highest. They're not processed fully, but they are pretty. If you want the processed and beautiful ones, well, you can join our Patreon. Okay, we have a price point for everybody, and I feel like an NPR telethon right now. It's not true. Okay, we are trying to bring more astronomy education to folks, and that's what this is all about, really.
It truly is, because I was stunned when I seen it for the first time. They were that beautiful. Like I'm letting everyone know that's listening or watching. Just watch this clip. Just look at the foreground and look at these images. Look at the gallery. Look at. Right. I'm just gonna play it. Let me stop talking.
You're gonna be embarrassed. I'm gonna be embarrassed now.
Yeah, he doesn't know.
Here's what it is.
Here we go.
Hello, everyone. This is Mark D'Antonio with SkyTour Livestream. If you ever want to travel the universe and see the night sky for what it is and see some beautiful views, well, you can always join us. If you come with us on nightly visits, you can visit the Orion Nebula. In the winter, you can visit all these beautiful nebulae you see here, supernova remnants. And then what happens is we take you to nebulas like this and this. As you can imagine, this is our SkyTour gallery in Mesa, Arizona, where many of our pictures that we take are on display. Canvas prints that are framed and beautiful, like this one of the Horsehead Nebula that you see behind me. Okay, this one over here, the Jellyfish Nebula, and then we have the Flaming Star over there. And it's one of hundreds of nebula that we've taken pictures of. You can also, for a $25 donation, get an official SkyTour Livestream t-shirt. So join us and check it out with us. We take you on these journeys, whenever it's clear in the Arizona desert, because that's where the observatory is. We look forward to seeing you. And remember, keep looking up. We bring you the universe live in real time.
That was great. That was great. Bravo.
Not as embarrassing as I thought it'd be, because I forgot. Of course, I'm missing a lot of facial hair now.
You are. Something's changed.
Yeah. No, I got tired of all the facial hair, so I just went and it's gone, and I missed this spot.
I noticed right there. Yeah.
Well, like I said, when you walk into that room and you see all of them on the wall and you're surrounded by them, it is just like awe-inspiring. It's beautiful. It's stunning. It truly is stunning to see it. It's one thing to see it on like a video like this. It's another to see it in person.
It's much better in person for sure.
I hope so. Yeah. And I gotta say, SkyTour Livestream has only been around for 4 years, and we've got a lot of people that follow us, and we also have a lot of people that want to help us. One of the volunteer duo that we have is Michael and Tiffany, and the thing about Michael and Tiffany is that they've taken it upon themselves to make SkyTour Livestream the exclusive distributor portal for free telescope equipment.
That's
what?
And so and if you look on our website at skytourlive.org, you'll actually see, if you scroll down, you'll see a panel that has the latest winners and all the winners so far, in case people had to leave early. Okay, so we gave away a full telescope from Celestron. We gave away 2 pairs of Celestron binoculars to 2 other people, and nice. The third person that won a pair of binoculars, it was his very first time coming into SkyTour Livestream, and he won the binoculars.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I was very happy about that.
Great.
So I have an idea live on air.
What's your idea live on air?
You know how it comes, Mark.
Yeah, I know. It's always scary, but go ahead.
We don't know what's coming out of the mouth. It would be awesome if we had a Mark D'Antoni Astronomer's Guide, like maybe a booklet to go with some of the stuff that these giveaways for the 3 telescopes. autographed by you. That this way, when the telescope is given away, they can also have like a guide by Mark D'Antonio how to use the telescopes to guide the stars. I'm just saying that would be awesome and autographed by you.
Maybe
I'm making a note. I'm making a note.
Tara's good at that thing. What you just mentioned, she's good at keeping everything in order and telling us what's coming next. And she's sort of like the she's an organizer that's unparalleled for us, and so she has a strength that I certainly don't have. It's a great idea. I love it, but I'll forget it. Even if I write it down, I'll forget where to put the note.
I'll remind her, Bill.
And she will. She's so good at that, You just gotta love having her on board. I'm telling you. She's
before I bail out, because I'm gonna let
you can't go anywhere. No soup for you.
No, run away.
No Coke, Pepsi.
Can we speak about what you showed me a week or so ago and the amazing upgrade you did to this piece of equipment? I don't want to say it unless.
Oh, you're talking about the all sky camera.
I didn't want to say it, but is that something you've been talking about publicly?
Yes, I've showed a post about it.
Bill,
I thought I was going to get in trouble.
No, you're not going to get in trouble.
One. I want one. He knows that. I'm on the list. I want
you
That'd
are
be for you, Bill.
You are on the list, yes, because I really do want to make sure that people get a hold of, people get to see the night sky around their house and just see the entire sky, and they can go to bed and let it keep running, and it'll make time lapses overnight. Nice. It's just really, really cool. I'm trying to find some pictures. I don't know if you have any pictures, Bill, but I got to try and find them now.
Well, you gave me a live
pictures of
the all sky camera.
You got it.
I have them out here somewhere, but
I have the old one.
Yeah, no, that's not the right one, unfortunately.
Not the right one.
Actually, let me go look and see.
Now, while he's looking, just so folks know,
it costs
thousands of dollars to get the I wouldn't say ordinary, but a standard all sky cam. It really does.
They're thousands. You can spend anywhere from as little as $2,000 to $5,000 for a full color high resolution camera, and I made this one for $600.
Wow, you're so smart.
No,
I
followed a plan online, but then I looked for things like this right here in the middle there, that red thing. That's the actual camera, and it's a camera made by a company called ZWO, the same maker as the camera we use on the main telescope, and it's sticking through a bubble that I got online, and it's screwed down to the top of this waterproof, watertight box. And inside it looks like this. I have that black thing you see right there, that black thing, that's a Raspberry Pi version 4. And then you have a long thing right there. I'll tell you what that is in a second, but then you see the camera down there in the red.
Yes.
And I have a laser cutter in my shop, so I just laser cut that clear bracket and with the holes and everything in it, so I can actually just screw things down. And so from the other side, the camera is actually screwed in by those two bolts you see at the top on either side of the camera. Also on either side of the camera, like forward and back, you see little holes in the lid. Now those holes go inside.
Yes.
There's a black one in the foreground you can see. That's to allow the heat from the circuit to come up and go on the clear dome, keeping it clear of snow.
Brilliant.
And it works. I've actually had snow out here, and I literally watched the snow melt off. So it clears the dome. It's really nice, and it's a passive way to keep this snow free.
And it doesn't fog the interior.
No, the only way you'd fog the interior is if you get moisture inside, and initial versions did. And if you look at where that cable's going in with that black thing on the end over here, that black thing on the end, that's a cable throughput hole, and it's a waterproof connector. And I had two cables going in there, one for power for the circuit that's in here, and then which is the black thing right there, and then one for the network to get to the internet with that black thing. That black thing's a little tiny mini microcomputer, actually. The Raspberry Pi.
Amazing.
So what I did was I tried something different at the I I should say, suggestion of the people who came up with this all sky camera gear in the beginning. And that was to take my internet cable, the Ethernet, the Cat5 cable that you plug into the wall for your internet. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, they don't usually carry current on those. They don't carry voltage, at least not enough. So what I did was I bought a unit that can go in between where I plug it into the wall and where the box is here.
Okay.
It puts 48 volts into the line. And then that black thing you see right there, just that little thin black thing right there,
Mhm.
that actually takes the voltage out of the line, puts it into the power cable, which is the black thing you see right there, and then just has a regular data cable, which goes into the Raspberry Pi on the far side, which it's below the blue thing. Okay. So in other words,
Yeah.
I get my data back out and my power all in one. And now I can go to 300 feet with this cable.
Brilliant.
And it's
That's amazing.
because it's a USB-C connector right there that you see going into this Raspberry Pi. And you usually get about 10 feet. And I actually went 16, and the circuit was running well below its normal voltage. So by doing this, it's called power over Ethernet, approach. I managed to get all the voltage to this Raspberry Pi that I needed, and now it runs like a charm. Nothing gets
Amazing.
dropped. It was dropping stuff before. It doesn't do it anymore. So it's really, really cool.
So,
Very cool.
Mark, is that Wi-Fi or Bluetooth?
Neither. It's actually direct connection. Okay,
Yeah.
that gray cable you see. Yeah, you know why? Because direct connections don't usually fail. Bluetooth will fail. Wi-Fi can go, not be connecting sometimes, right? And Wi-Fi drops. Bluetooth drops. This doesn't drop. That right there, that cable represents a direct connection to the internet and will allow all the data from this camera to come in flawlessly without fail. And that's what we need.
So tomorrow I'm getting a new roof started on my house. That's something I can mount on my roof, right?
Absolutely. These are the kinds of things that are very simple to mount. This is a watertight box that has a big O-ring seal, a square O-ring inside. Okay. And that square O-ring seals the top lid into the bottom. And if you look at this picture, you'll see that it's actually got, you can't see them too well, but you see the O-ring, you see the black O-ring.
Yep.
Just around the red camera down there, you see that black little thing going around. That's the O-ring. But then there's just two hand latches, click, click, and it's sealed.
Wow.
So easy access and everything. And what's at the bottom is the top. Okay, obviously, so it flips over the top. Yeah. So this was a really good addition. It helps us see the sky in a way that's unprecedented. I wanted to upload a video, and I might be able to, but I'm hoping it's not too large. Okay. But I was trying to get a file up there, but I don't think I can upload a video. Wait, maybe I can. I can add a video. So while I'm thinking about that, while I'm thinking about doing it, I'm going to just, I think I could do it, Bill.
If not, you could always send it to me and I'll make it so, Captain.
Make it so.
Make it so, number one.
Yeah, good, Bill.
Yeah, I guess if I want to show a video, I say add a video clip.
Yes.
Yeah, so I hit edit video clip.
It might take a couple of seconds to
render. There it is. So let's see if this will work. Looks like it's going. This is going to be last night's all-night test of the night sky. Right, once it actually comes up.
Cool.
Right, yeah, and I'll show it to you. But it's really cool. And so the benefit of an all-sky camera is you can see meteors, planes, oddities, UFOs, all kinds of things going on. Yeah, and it's neat to see that happen, and on the all-sky camera we have out there, I don't know if you remember it, Tara, maybe you do, Bill. I actually caught an oddity out there. It was circling in the sky, and I didn't know what that was. I still don't. So we're waiting for it to upload. But so basically, it's easy to join SkyTerra live stream. And no, this isn't a sales pitch because we're not making any money here, and this is all, something we do for passion. Now, yeah, we need to be supported, of course, but it's easy to join. Go to the YouTube and go to SkyTerra live stream with Mark D'Antonio. Okay. And you can join, you can click the bell and drop down the little dialogue and say all notifications, please. And then you'll be able to be alerted when we go live. Now we stream to multiple platforms, and because we do that, I can't set up a stream ahead of time anymore and just say stream's up there, let's go. I can't do that anymore. All right. And that's unfortunate. So now it goes live whenever it goes live. I can't do it ahead of time. So this is our all sky. That was me briefly. So this is our test.
Funny.
And there's by me again, changing the direction to the south. Oh, there goes a plane. You saw it go through.
Yep.
Okay. So there goes another one.
Something.
Yeah. That's the
Oh,
there's
it
another
goes.
one. Yeah. Then
Cool.
another one. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And so this will go on. I can I wonder if I can accelerate it. Another one. I guess you just gotta let it go, huh?
There's
Yeah.
bugs flying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now there's no bugs in the winter up here, I can tell you that.
A little too cold for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, but actually what's funny is you can actually see how many planes actually do fly over. And I'll tell you one thing, and while we're watching this, that's a good thing. You see when the planes fly over, you see the contrails are very short. And the chemtrail people will tell you that's because those are contrails. Okay. If it was chemtrails, they'll stay. Well, that's not true. And they ignore the science just to make their agenda claim, and that is that we're being sprayed by deadly chemicals. No, actually, we're not. You get more of that in your car, breathing the outgassing from your upholstery than you do from aircraft at all. There's no.
Mark,
Yeah.
isn't it where the X marks the spot where the chemicals are? So it's the contrails intersecting each other, right?
Oh,
I think that's X marks the spot.
I've heard that too. Yeah.
Mhm.
But see, depending on the weather, you can have persistent contrails, or you can have contrails that vanish rapidly. It depends on the dryness of the air, obviously moisture content, in other words. So in this,
Wow.
yeah, this is cool. Yeah, and this
Cool.
this is made all by itself. I don't have anything to do with it. But I will say that this approach, okay, is really quite impressive because it allows us to see the whole night sky. Now you notice the top and bottom is cut off a little, and that's because of the fact that the lens I'm using needs to be a little more tightly curved, basically, to allow the entire sphere, the circle rather, of the image hit the sensor. Right now the top and bottom are kind of missing, right? But here now you see the sun is beginning to set, and you'll see the beautiful sunset occur, and you'll say, well, it's just clouds, that's boring. Well, give it a moment. Give it a moment. If I could advance it, I would have. Okay.
Wow.
So I just accelerated because I went into this is night mode now.
Wow.
Okay? Right. And there, right along the bottom, coming up, you see Orion. Okay, there's Orion right there in the middle now. There's a belt of 3 stars. The Orion Nebula is plain as day. In fact, it's even pink. And now you see the rotation of the sky.
Wow. And it's sharp. It's really sharp.
Oh, you can zoom in and see the Pleiades and count all the Pleiades.
The check is in the mail, Mark. The check is in the mail.
Really, yeah, right. It's really beautiful. And then the moon rises. You can see the moon coming up right above this the lower left.
Oh, neat.
And then as the moon comes up, it gets a little bit brighter, and then it becomes daytime, and then it stops. So that is what this does. Now, another thing it does is it creates these images. And you say, well, what the heck are those? Well, it's kind of hard to show, but it's a slice of every hour of the night. Okay. And what it shows is that at this point in the night, there were just a few little clouds that got in the way, which we saw. Okay. Daytime was bright. And then at night, for most of the night, it was clear, and you can see stars. When you actually see this close up, you can see that there's stars in there. This is called a keogram. And keogram, K-E-O-gram. Yeah.
Okay.
And it shows you in a glance how the night was. And so this can give you trend data and show you, hey, what's going on, This also does star trails. And so there's a star trail image out there as well that shows the star trails for that night as well. It does all 3. So it's really kind of a neat setup. And the software was created by Thomas Jacquin, and it's a GitHub thing. It's free. And I installed it on the Raspberry Pi, and I'm going through all the little configuration nits and things that I've got to do to get it running perfectly. But I'm really catching on to it, and it's looking really cool.
I can't wait to get one.
Yeah, and it's amazing. And for you, Bill, it's only $2,000. No, it literally costs $600 for the materials and everything. That's all.
I
That's
it is.
amazing.
really want to mount it up on the roof. That's my plan because I've got an extra router now.
Yeah.
So I want to
That's
wire
neat.
it. And
Yeah, what
do
you
it.
can actually do is run the network cable with the power through a post, like a galvanized pipe,
Mhm.
and attach it with a flange to the bottom of your all-sky cam so it can stick up off the roof like maybe a foot. So you want to get up above the roof line, and then you can actually look around and see. And then you'll just be that guy sitting on the couch all night looking at your images. Going, wow, look at that. Look at that. Yeah.
That's going to be awesome. But
Yeah.
thanks to the people that support Sky Tour, Isabella, what she does,
Yeah.
all the contributors that make this possible, because it's a team. It's Team Sky Tour, really.
That's
Without-
right.
Yeah,
It is Team
it
Sky
is.
Tour. Yep.
It really
Yep.
is. So
Like a lot of the people that are out there right now are part of Team Sky Tour right now. Okay, we got a lot of people in the chat, and the person Mark Calabos out there, that's Michael, and Tiffany was here as well, and they're the ones that orchestrate the giveaways of equipment. So we're honored that they picked us to be the distribution point, the exclusive distributors for their equipment. That's wonderful. And so I think that's pretty cool. And Michael Hedrick is one of those guys who's always with us on all of our Sky Tours. He rarely misses one. And if he does, he feels guilty about it. Says, I'm sorry I missed it. Don't apologize. You got life, So it's cool, But again, it's live astronomy, right? And I know Bill was talking about us going to like a 10 o'clock slot at one point, in which case we could actually, instead of doing a radio show, we could just do a live stream. And in this format with the live stream showing on the screen, but that didn't work out for me. And I would prefer not to have to write a show on top of do a live stream. So we're okay. But I want to thank Bill for that opportunity anyway.
Bill's awesome.
well,
Yeah, once in a while he is.
let me stand by now and watch what you guys are going to discuss for the next 90 minutes, because we just took 30 minutes out of the show. This was not planned. This was not scripted. We just went with this. It's
Do you want to tell people how you lost like 1 billion years?
Oh, come on.
Huh?
1 billion years.
Yeah, I dropped it on stage.
Yeah, tell them all about that.
Oh,
No, I'm getting off. Are you crazy? I'm not going to get it.
You can't leave until you tell
That
people.
was, but even though it was fun, because one thing, if nobody's seen Mark do a presentation, and I don't care, because this year he's going to be, and last year, Contact in the Desert at the end of May or beginning of June. But I will always say, Mark, please come back to Pine Bush. And it could be year after year after year, because number one, he has different types of presentations. Number two, the audience loves it.
We got a lot of fun people out there.
But you make it educational, but you also throw a lot of fun and humor into it.
very approachable. Mhm.
But he makes it fun. Like he jokes on stage while he's doing it.
But you can tell he likes it,
Yeah. So when I did it, I was like, Mark, I just dropped it.
Do you remember the talk I was doing where you did that?
Yes.
Okay.
Eric was
What
on.
happened?
Okay. Go ahead. Tell her.
Well,
You want to tell her or want me to do it?
No, you do it. You do it.
Okay. Don't you go anywhere. Okay.
I'll just
So
make up my
one of the talks I do is meant to show the sheer scale, the time scale that occurred in the development of the Earth when it first formed, which is kind of interesting because when we talk about planetary evolution in just a minute. But the time scale presentation I did involved using a unique way to show the time scale that occurred on Earth. So what I did was I put every single major event in the Earth's history, hundreds of these things, on a roll of toilet paper from the formation of the Earth all the way to where we are in that room that day. And so it took me over 5 hours to make this thing. and I had to make sure it could stand up to Ronald. I remember the toilet paper. Yeah, I had to spend 5 hours, and then I added a line down the center that I call a pull member, so you could actually pull it and not tear it. My original toilet paper demonstration was on real toilet paper, and after 3 or 4 uses, it got pretty ratty, frays and paper sticking out. And so when I would take it out, I would tell people, we got a high-tech piece of apparatus here. It's a roll of toilet paper. And I'll say, well, I've already used it before. And of course, everybody laughs because like, well, no, not that way. But then I went to a wallpaper store and I got this material that's the same width as toilet paper. It's meant for trim and curtain work and stuff. And I ended up, yes, it survived because it really wasn't toilet paper at that point. So what I did was I ended up putting it on this. So I did another 5 hours on this more robust material, and I use that to this day, and it's great. And I keep adding to it. When I learn about certain changes or whatever, I'll actually go on it and cross stuff out and edit in the correct thing, which is kind of cool. And eventually I'll make a whole new one and so forth, but don't need to now. It's actually kind of cool the way you see how it turns out with all the extra writing on it and stuff. Because I write it by hand. It's not big fancy print. I just write it by hand, and I have people in the audience help me. So as I was doing this, I asked that guy down there to help me, and he was holding it. But you know what? Here's the problem with Bill. You give him something to do, and he's this. Okay, he's all over the place. You know why? Because he's hyperactive, right? Hyperactive. Yeah. So he's holding this roll, and you're asking Bill to stand still with a roll of toilet paper. Okay. All of a sudden, I watch Earth's history rolling by. It's on the stage. It's like, what the? There goes the Cambrian period, the Permian period, Jurassic period just went away. Where'd it go? And Bill's like, oops. So, of course, we had to get it and roll it back up. And that killed another 2 or 3 minutes. Right. And of course, it was very funny. But yeah, he dropped the roll of toilet paper. And of course, it's soft. So it went funk, 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 and it unrolled itself down the stage. No.
And the cat goes chasing afterwards.
Oh, can you imagine that? Yeah. Well, not. Yeah, pretty cool.
But there's 2 people on the stage. One is letting it unwind. The other one's rolling it up. So it kind of like I wasn't. Well,
keep in mind, I had to do it that way because the nature of the room, there wasn't enough room to do it. So one person was rolling it up, one person was letting it out. You were the one letting it out.
Was I? I don't remember.
I think so. And so when you're letting it out, you actually dropped all the history, which basically said to us, well, there's no more Earth, folks. It's been wiped out.
See ya.
No pun intended. Yeah. So, Bill dropped 1 billion years. It was hilarious.
Forget about dropping the ball. I dropped the paper.
You did drop the toilet paper. That's all right.
Oh, my gosh. Anyway, have a great rest of your show.
Thanks,
I will.
Bill.
By the way, I do want to announce, okay? I want to announce right now, okay? Calabos has started a contest for those listening right now to our show. Pick a number between 1 and 1,000. 1 guess per person. The winner is the closest to the number, whether above or below, and you'll win Celestron Cometron 7x50 binoculars.
Wow.
Right then and there, he's doing it right here live on our show. He's doing a Sky Tour giveaway.
Wow.
So keep in mind, okay, pick a number between 1 and 1,000, and hopefully before the end of the show, we'll be able to show you who won it and give that information out.
Good luck, everyone.
Cool. That is awesome.
So, Michael, if you will, just text me the number so I have it, unless you already did. So the idea is you pick a number between 1 and 1,000, and if you are close, then you win a pair of binoculars. You see how easy this is, guys? Come on. It's astronomy for everybody,
So cool.
and we give you the chance of playing. Now, Sky Tour family can all play except for the people that run it, like Tara and me, and well, I don't know about Bill. You know, I mean, he deserves a pair anyway because of everything he does.
He
No.
But
does.
yeah, but I don't want him peeking in the neighbor's window. So
Listen,
forget it.
I'm
He's not
looking
gonna do
forward toward the all sky cam right now. That's the thing that I'm
Sounds
focused.
really
That's
neat.
that's a big one. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
that's a
amazing.
really cool
So,
one.
and when I said
Yeah.
check is in the mail, literally the check will be in the mail when you make mine because I can't wait to get one. That's for sure.
Okay.
Anyway,
All right, I got the winning number, and
Okay.
I'm waiting. And by the end of the show, I will make the announcement. Tara, please remind me
Okay.
to do that because you know me, I'll forget.
Tara, if you don't, I'll jump back on the screen and make it.
That sounds good. Yeah. No, make sure and you'll have to announce what they need to do so we can connect with them. So
Yeah,
Well, email. Don't you have an email for SkyTour that they can contact you?
Yeah.
absolutely. It's
I'll pull that
contact.
up.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah. Go ahead, Tara. We have
Okay.
I think we have a nice thing to show for that. No,
There we go.
contact skytour@gmail.com. You can reach us anywhere, anytime.
Mm-hmm.
And both me and Tara get this email as well as Marianne. So
Marianne. Mm-hmm.
yeah. And
Very
my
cool.
dog Dingo will get it too from time to time, but it's usually torn up just like the toilet paper. So
15 minutes to break, so I'm gonna bail so you guys can continue your planned show finally.
it's okay. I mean,
No, it's
I'm
great,
sure there
though.
are people that enjoy all this too. You know, I mean, it's kind of neat. I don't mind. But I will talk about speaking of planets and the evolution of the Earth. Why don't we talk about planetary evolution in general and talk a little bit about how that might actually work in reality from what we understand?
By the way, before I go, Mark, you did excellent research on your analysis of the so-called jellyfish. I just wanted excellent work with you and other people that are in the field. Great observation and conclusion on what you believe that was. So I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, there are people that I'm not afraid to say. I mean, there's not a hidden thing.
No, I'm saying though.
At first, I thought that, and I'll talk about the jellyfish UFO. Okay. Now I know Jeremy Corbell. I mean, we're friends, and friendly. And so when he said he had this thing, I looked at it and said, "Oh, okay, let's check it out." And at first, I thought it might have been a splotch on the camera housing. All right, but then when the camera panned around, if it was a splotch on the camera housing up here, if the camera panned around, this thing would have wildly moved around the screen, and it didn't.
Right.
So that told me that it was actually in the sky further away. Well, thanks to analysis done by Mick West, and who also works with me on History Channel's Proof is Out There. Okay. He showed it was around 1,800 feet in the air. And I concurred with that when I did my analysis as well. You always try to get a peer review, right, of everything you think. So I looked at it and said, what could that be? And I thought, okay, looking at this, if it's in the air, I can see shapes. I can see distinct shapes. At the top, I see things that look like horns. Okay, and then I see something in the middle. And then I see a bunch of round objects in the center of this cluster, and then things dangling below that kind of look like letters. So in looking at this thing with more care, I noticed that somebody had mocked up on his site what a balloon cluster from a Muslim holiday called Eid Mubarak might look like. And sure enough, when you look up the Eid holiday, the balloons they have are half, crescent moons, 5-pointed stars, round balloons, and letters saying EID, So, that was telling me that this looks like it's probably a balloon. And among the criticisms I got was, that's no balloon, you so-and-so. No one's kind when they really think they know something, And the good thing I have a thick skin. So, in fact, it was nothing even, it didn't even bother me in the slightest. So I did ask for other additional opinions because I don't do things in a vacuum. The MUFON photo analysis team, of which I'm part, obviously, they did an assessment, and some of us concluded it looked like it was a balloon cluster. Others sort of on the fence about what it might be. And then in comes a friend of mine, David Mason, who is a FLIR infrared technology guy
Cool.
and an inventor. And he's on the show Skinwalker Ranch. Okay. He knows how to create technology to detect strange happenings. Okay. So he did. And he looked at it as well. And he announced on my post in Facebook, he said, yes, this is a balloon cluster. And it was without a doubt for him. And then he explained the physics of why. Now, I didn't get into the physics of why because I didn't want to go over people's heads, but he had to say this because this is a valid set of reasoning. He talked about medium and long wave infrared responses from balloons, whether latex balloons like the little round things or mylar balloons like the moon-shaped mylar and the star-shaped mylar and the letter-shaped mylar. He says this is all highly consistent with reflections, infrared reflections off of balloons.
Oh.
He says of different types. So with that in mind, I decided that I was going to, call it as a balloon cluster. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that would rather it be something else. But look at it. Everyone knows I've had some really strange experiences that I can't explain. That's why I'm in this field. Okay. So I'm not going to sit there and tell you that aliens don't exist. I certainly know they do. And I think they're here. Okay. So that said, my only comment is this video from Jeremy wasn't it.
And we could do better. If you want to release some video, I think we can do better than something like that.
Well, it's a military.
I know, but I mean,
and then the thing that's also a problem for me is that, he said that there's a sequence of it diving into the water and staying there for 17 minutes and then shooting out at 45 degrees or whatever. That's the video you lead with. Okay. But he said it was classified and he couldn't show it. Well, then he wouldn't have it nor ever see it.
Right. He doesn't have that.
No, he doesn't have any kind of access like that. And if he did, and he did see it, then someone's going to a federal penitentiary because it violates secrecy laws. Trust me, I know all about them. Mm-hmm. I had a very high clearance for several decades. Okay, working for the Navy as I do. Okay, and I only recently got rid of it because it was too invasive in your private life, and I don't want the invasion anymore. But the thing being, I know what it's like to live in that world. And I know that you're always looking over your shoulder. You're always being careful about what you say and do. I had to hide stuff from my own family. Okay. I did. My kids could not know projects I worked on. And Dad, I want to use a screwdriver. I'll get it for you. I can't let you in the shop right now. I mean, literally for years growing up, that's what they heard. Okay. So it worked out like that because of the fact that, we have laws for a reason. We have the secrecy laws for a reason. And I believe in them because I know the results of not following them.
Plus, it's also protecting the resources and the tools, the technology we use to access.
Oh, yeah.
And gather intel or what.
No, in fact, that's true. I've worked on projects that have potentially saved lives. Okay. Cool. I've worked on projects, but I can't ever talk about what it was. Right. But it's out there, and if the day comes where it's declassified, I can talk about it. I can talk about it, but I'm not going to talk about it, and there's nothing anyone can do to make me.
Come on, Mark, just tell us.
All right, let me tell you.
It'd be easy to make me. It was like, just like Bill do. He'll
actually
talk in 5 minutes.
If you want something to get around, tell Bill not to tell anyone.
Right.
And then all of a sudden it's out there all over the place.
Mark, good to know. Good to know.
But Tyra, he knows this. When it's like something that's ultra secret, I won't talk about it because we both knew about Grush months before
he talked.
And we were told, don't repeat, and that was like top secret because you're protecting the man's identity.
Yeah. I mean, Grush was an interesting character. I don't mind it.
I'm just saying, Mark,
I'm waiting on what I want to do tonight because this is kind of important too. So
yeah, I'm sorry to take it.
No, this is actually a good side road. And there's a lot of conversation here. She's saying all kinds of cool things and making good observations. She's making good observations. No, but David Grush is an interesting character. He sat there telling Congress, for instance, and a lot of people listening have heard this, that we have captured craft and creatures and so forth. Oh, where are they? Can you tell us? Not in an open session. Okay, but in a closed session, I will. Now, you have to understand something about the secrecy world. If you make a statement like that, you're either going to, one, go to prison immediately, okay, be kidnapped and brought to a black site, okay, and made to shut up in no uncertain terms. You'll come back without a pinky or something. Well, not that, but the bottom line is, if he was saying things that he wasn't told he could say, then that would have been problematic. He wasn't. They tried to characterize him as a whistleblower. He wasn't. He was actually just stating what he was given permission to say. Big difference.
That's true. Yeah.
So, but again, he's telling you something you didn't know before. Yes. And in the closed session, he mentioned something about alien beings and where these ships are and so forth. And I looked at several interviews with Congress people coming out of that session, and they were literally kind of stunned by it. And when you look in their eyes, you can see they heard something they weren't ready for. Let me tell you. Look at when I was on the submarine and something came through, and again, I was just a visitor. I wasn't a sailor. Something went through at several hundred knots. Okay. Whoa. That just blows you away when something goes by the sub at several hundred knots.
It's fast.
Yeah. Yeah. And then confirming it with the Joint Chiefs in Washington a few years later, I did that directly. And I was like, whoa. So it does exist, right? So there's a lot going on. See? So there's a lot to this. And finally, it's starting to come together. You know, what happened with me, that was decades ago. That's plural, decades. Okay. Now we have the Nimitz incident that came out a few years back. And now we have other things coming out, military people starting to talk. And when you give people that see these things every day the chance to talk, it unburdens them and they get to feel like they can finally say what they've seen. And we've seen that. Yes, exactly. It's a collective sigh. And I've seen that with many of these service people that talk about it. And it's almost like they can't wait to just get it off their chest. Yeah. And when Grush was telling it, people said, well, he seemed just too eager to be there. No, I don't see it that way. I think he was there, and his attitude was based on the fact that he was looking at the camera saying, wow, I can actually say this now. And he said it. And he unburdened himself too, because he was given permission to say it. Now, he couldn't give everything away. He was told what he could say, but it was enough. And of course, being in the CIA, he was able to restrain and carefully edit his words so that he didn't go past a certain level, you know. And that's something that I think would be very, very problematic had he done so. So
there were interesting individuals sitting at the hearing that the public is not aware of.
You mean Jeremy and George?
No.
Martin Lewis in the back.
Let's just say there were two other whistleblowers in attendance that people didn't even realize that were there.
Okay.
Sitting in the audience. Now, Mark, like we have about 3 minutes before we go to break, to both of you, but it's now this secondhand, like, well, I heard from this person. We need now to hear from the individuals he supposedly said told him about these different the different
easy
areas.
For you to say.
Yeah, I couldn't say it, didn't roll out right. But the different areas of where they were saying they seen these retrievals, bodies, all the different areas, the components. And now we need to hear from those individuals. I don't know if it's ever going to happen.
I think that's true.
He said, I heard it from this person. This person told me this. I seen documents, but it's secondhand. We need to hear from the people that told him the information.
I agree.
That's the next step, hopefully.
Yeah, but will that actually happen? He was picked specifically to deliver this information, right? You know, how long until break?
Looks like
2 minutes.
Oh, 2 minutes.
So what are we going to speak about Well, what are you guys going to speak out in the second hour?
In the second hour, we're going to talk about planetary evolution.
Cool.
Yeah, Tara's going to tell us all about it because she's
Yeah.
really up on it. I did want to share with you something funny before we go to break. It's a total non sequitur, which means it's unrelated. You know how you get calls, spam calls all the time? Okay.
Yeah, never.
It's annoying, right? Right. And usually you know it's a spam call because you lift up the phone and say hello and you hear whoop. And then somebody starts talking. Hello, can I please speak to Mr. D'Antonio? And you know it's a spam call. So you know what I do? I do this. And you guys can try this too. And so far, I've done this several times, and it's so funny. As soon as they say, hello, is this Mr. D'Antonio? I go, yes. Right? Because that's the sound if you call these voice response units, right? You hear that little
yes,
right? And then you hear an answer, right? It's like, FedEx or whatever. So I say, yes. And they say, oh, do you have a credit score above 600? Yes. Okay. Do you own your own home? I do not understand. Please repeat the question. Do you own your own home? You own your own home. I do not understand the question. And I do that until they hang up.
Oh, that's funny.
And I had this one guy, 4 minutes, he endured this.
He wouldn't give up. He wouldn't give up.
4 minutes, he didn't get it.
God,
He's trying to get the sale.
Yeah, exactly. Trying to get the sale. That's correct. Yeah. So I pretend I'm a voice response unit. Oh, and this one guy asked me a question, and sometimes you know how it goes on endlessly.
Oh.
Okay. So he said something like, "Well, do you have your own car?" No. I just want to, and they answer. It's like, do they not understand? But that's what it sounds like. It sounds like a freaking robot call. You gonna hit me with a robot call? I'm gonna hit you right back with one.
Thank God it's not a video call, because then they'd be dealing with clown.
Oh yes, that's right.
That'd be hilarious.
Really freak them out, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Love it.
So when we come back, folks, we're going to talk about planetary evolution. I promise.
All right.
And I know Tara's got some questions as well.
Yeah.
Bill, you can stay with us if you want. It's no problem. But if you're going to leave to do other things, feel free. I don't mind. But we will come back right after these words.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
As UFO reports come in from around the world, the Mutual UFO Network, MUFON, is there. We continue to explore new cases and build our massive database. We share our information with the world in a number of ways. If you'd like to be part of our investigative team, you are always welcome. What could be more exciting than exploring the UFO question firsthand? Join MUFON, find your friends.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected, only at kgradb.com.
Well, we are back, Tara.
Yay, we're back. Where's Bill?
Oh, I don't know where Bill went. He's off doing Bill things.
Busy man.
Yeah, so as an astronomer, one of these things that has often perplexed me is just how all the fabric of the universe arranged itself in such a way to create life in certain ways that it did.
Yeah.
Now, we only know the life on our planet, right? Obviously. But if you look at carbon is extremely prolific in the universe. It's the fourth most abundant element. So it stands to reason that life might be based on carbon in the universe. And I've said this before to good effect, I think, that I'm a carbon bigot.
You have said that. I've heard you say that before.
Yeah, just a little bit of a carbon bigot, because oxygen is the third most abundant element. So carbon and oxygen have a long history, a long intertwined history with each other. And carbon and oxygen figure very prominently in DNA, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and of course, the building blocks of life all feature carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, phosphorus, oxygen, and then some and more, sulfur. So there's a lot of these materials that were created when the universe had some time to gestate, and large stars blew up in supernovae, littering the cosmos with new elements that they made in their cores during the supernova, elements that they had been making in their cores while processing and doing fusion while they were in their existence, and then elements that were created in the outer envelopes of these massive super red giant stars that just got blasted out into the universe. And that's something that happened in the universe so many times that it's unfathomably large a number. So when this happened, we ended up finding that the building blocks of life and atomic structures were literally being created in the dark nebulae that we see out there, dark dust clouds out in the universe. And these dark dust clouds, in a sense, to me, this is where life was at. This is where it is. You're going to find it there. And it's in those dark dust clouds where life began. That's something that's really important to follow, And so what happens in those dark dust clouds? Well, a solar nebula swirls around. Okay, in the middle is a protostar. Prior to when the sun was actually even fusing hydrogen, it was getting very, very hot. A very, very bright glowing object that would look like a star to your eyes, but it wasn't. It was actually just very not yet. Yeah, it was a very hot protostar. Okay, then when the temperature reached a certain threshold, hydrogen in that core, which is being squeezed by the overlying mass, getting hotter and hotter and hotter, hydrogen in that core finally reached this specific threshold temperature where fusion could begin in earnest.
Cool.
And when that happened, that fusion process creates, in the end, more hydrogen fuel and helium as well. Okay, all these hydrogens that come in, hydrogen squeezed together makes deuterium. Deuterium crosses and with another hydrogen. It just goes on and on. and it starts something called a proton. It's called a chain,
Yes.
but it's not really a chain. It's a proton domino
Reaction
effect
thing.
reaction. Yeah, that just
Mhm.
goes to creating this helium ash,
Cool.
and that ends up in the core of the star, right? Well, eventually the star is going to run out, and that goes into stellar evolution, which is another show. However, um, that's the star. So the star, when it starts that hydrogen fusion, the star literally winks on. All of a sudden, this new exactly it's like boink. Well, it's still very, very bright. It would look like a star to your eyes before this because it
Right.
was so bright and hot. But once it winks on, now another a blast of radiation
Is
starts
that
moving out.
pardon me, is that a phase change when it blinks on?
Well, it's actually a threshold. Okay, it reaches a fusion threshold where
Okay.
it can now fuse hydrogen. It gets hot enough under enough pressure, so hydrogen can now begin to fuse. And when that happens, it's a
Cool.
sudden, immediate reaction, and the star goes from being a protostar that's this very hot thing in the middle to a fusing core, which now all of a sudden,
Wow.
boom, starts radiating a lot of radiation out and making a lot of energy. That energy that it makes, right, is of course what gave life to us, right? But what's going on outside the star, out around the star, there was this disk of material circulating around the star. It's called an accretion disk. Now, when you have a gravitationally condensing area of matter, it tends to form a disk shape. And it has to do with the angular momentum of things moving in. It tends
Okay.
to form into a disk shape, and then that disk shape will prevent it from ever doing anything different. Once it's in a disk, it's going to stay a disk. So that disk shape that we see emulated all throughout the universe, that disk shape then could end up having clumping in that disk. So if the star's in the middle and you got stuff going around, it might clump. And over here, where it starts to clump, well, that's from a gravitational point of view, that's a higher level of gravitational force. So that would pull in more stuff. Okay. And this is how we got these clumps that would then become protoplanets, right?
Cool.
Yeah. And protoplanets, it's a very interesting process. And as this diagram shows, it starts with, for instance, a little particles, and they're called planetesimals. Okay.
Planetesimals.
Planetesimals, yeah.
Mhm.
And now at any stage, they could go to their final position. These planetesimals could just stay planetesimals. And you follow the black arrow on that left side all the way up, and you see it goes to just more planetesimals. Okay, and that could become asteroids eventually, right? But those planetesimals could continue to accrete more planetesimals and become a planetary embryo, the beginnings of a planet. And it could stay a planetary embryo and become a small terrestrial planet like perhaps Mars, okay, or a Mercury or something like that, or a Pluto, all right?
Hmm.
But it could, again, keep accreting more material and become a very much more large terrestrial planet, which could become an Earth, it could become a Venus, it could become another planetary body, all right? And as it gets more and more material, every stage of the way along that bottom of the diagram, they can stop and go up to the top and say, okay, I'm going to stop here. I'm going to become this. That stage happened here many times, right? Now, if we go all the way to the right side, well, then we can see that we have an object here that's probably certainly less than 80 times the mass of the sun. It could be anywhere from 20 to 30 solar masses in there, maybe. Masses of the Earth. And so then what will happen is this will become a prototype Jovian planet, a prototype Jupiter. Okay. And so if you have an object that's like, say, 20, 30 masses of Jupiter, we've seen that with exoplanets, it's going to be a hot object like this here. This would be what's called a brown dwarf, right?
Okay.
And so a brown dwarf isn't a star, but it has enough material to just stay hot and radiate that heat away over time. But it could end up becoming a planet Jupiter over time once it cools off and once it actually ends up in a stage where the hydrogen atmosphere, which is mostly what it's made of, could make it into a very large Jovian planet. Okay. And so this is how the outer planets, the outer gas giants, evolved. So when we talk about that, okay, the again, the clumping begins from the gravitational attraction, the mutual gravitational attraction, and then they could become any one of these things along the bottom there and then go up to the top in terms of being their final stage. Now, what's interesting is that when the terrestrial planets are made, okay, like on the left side of that diagram,
Mm-hmm.
what happens is when they're formed, they're molten. They're just molten blobs in space, right?
All of them?
Well, for the most part, yeah, the terrestrial rocky planets will be all molten blobs, right?
Cool.
And these molten blobs will have a composition made of many materials that are massive, like uranium and possibly plutonium and other materials that are heavy, right? And the heavy elements in a planet's mass like that would tend to get gravitated toward the center because, well, gravity would act more strongly on more massive elements. So it tends to pull them toward the center. A lot of the radioactive elements ended up in the center of our planet. And that's what a lot of the heat energy we have in our molten outer core right now, all right, is from radiation. Now, there's also the heat of initial formation, which is also a big problem and something that we deal with and know about. But because of gravity in the early stages of the planetary formation, these planets will have all the stuff in their outer regions gravitating toward the center. All right. And that's something that will actually heat up the planet too. But now, if that's happening as time goes on, the outer crust can cool. And it's kind of difficult for people to think about, but we're just a few miles from a molten hell. You're sitting on top, like right now where you are in Arizona, okay? There's a geothermal hotspot below you. It means the crust is a little thinner below you than it is where I am. The crust is a little thicker where I am. But where you are, it's a little thinner. Under the Rockies, it's actually very thick, okay? But where you are in the Phoenix area, there's a geothermal hotspot there. Our observatory is located on a geothermal hotspot. The water comes out of the ground at 95 degrees.
Perfect.
Okay? Yeah, perfect. Yeah. I want a drink. Okay. So that, but okay. So you can see that the latent heat and the heat of this radiated material in the core from differentiation of that stuff is still there, you know. And on top of it now, once the crust forms, well, how does that energy get out from the inside? How does
Volcanoes.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Right. Ooh, you're smart. Yeah.
Lucky guess.
Yeah, volcanoes and plate tectonics, right?
Okay,
So,
yes. That's the one I always forget.
Yeah, no, it's fine. But we have like tectonics where you have all these crustal plates. Now they rub against each other. Okay, like the Pacific plate and the North American plate are rubbing against each other, and one is going under another, and that creates the Pacific Ring of Fire. We have a lot of earthquakes along the West Coast, Mount St. Helens, Mount Rainier, Mount Shasta, all these big volcanoes out there. All right. And then you'll say, but wait, what about Yellowstone? Yellowstone's like in the middle. But wait, there's more. Yellowstone, right, is in the middle of our country. So, you know, what about that? That's not the edge of a crustal plate, and it's not. So what's going on with Yellowstone? Well, for the same reason we have the Hawaiian Islands, we have Yellowstone. How could you possibly link the two together? Well, it's actually pretty simple, because when you look at Yellowstone's history, you look at the rock strata and you look at the previous volcanic calderas in Yellowstone, they follow a path. And that path is the movement of the North American plate. Because what's underneath the North American plate is a hot spot coming up through the mantle of magma. And as the North American plate moves over that hot spot, different things spring out on the surface at different points, making a line of different hot locations where it was like a caldera at one point. So we see that these hot spots have been drifting. The Hawaiian Islands are a perfect example.
I was thinking, it's just They're all in a line, little arch sort of.
You've been to Hawaii.
Many times. Love it. Mhm.
Yeah. I never
Highly,
been.
highly recommend it. It's
Uh,
awesome.
Yeah, if I could get there, I would.
Yeah.
So, but that's the thing, right? The Hawaiian island chain is the result of the movement of the Pacific plate. And the Pacific plate is moving over a hot spot. Okay. And the hot spot punches through the surface at one time or another and makes an island. And bing, 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 bing. Okay.
Mhm.
So if you look at how this all works, you say, wow, you can actually see the older islands from the newer this way. And you can see older lava versus younger lava, right?
Cool. Mhm.
Yeah. So the big island is the most active island right now, right? Hilo, they have Kilauea. Okay. You have Mauna Loa, which is actually starting to become active again. Okay. Mauna Loa is one of the biggest mountains in the whole solar system. Actually, it goes all the way to the ocean floor.
Yes.
It's huge.
Yes. You don't think about that, how deep that ocean is there.
I know. So volcanism and tectonics also created a lot of developmental things for the early Earth. Most of the stuff we see in the geological record, you can see what happened in the geology, the folding of the crust and all that, the faulting where, plates move against each other. But what people don't often, you think about it, but people don't, is the atmosphere. Okay, where'd the atmosphere come from? Well, once the Earth started to, solidify, now volcanoes pop through because of the pressure. They pop through here and here. And what do? They spew stuff. Sulfur dioxide, right? They spew lava, molten rock. They spew all kinds of like water vapor from the interior. They spew all kinds of elements and so forth that end up in the atmosphere. Okay. The sulfur dioxide in the atmosphere, you can end up with hydrochloric acid, sulfuric acid. Those all have a part to play, and then they break down into other constituents. And so when you have methane, okay, and you have like CH4, when you have methane in the atmosphere, now that's a greenhouse gas, but it's a carbon and a hydrogen atom. And if it breaks down, because it doesn't last long in an atmosphere, then you actually have new compounds that are made as a result, right? So over time, the outgassing from volcanic activity will add an atmosphere to the planet.
Cool.
But wait, there's no oxygen yet. So what happened? How come? Where'd that come from?
Oh, I know.
I want to hear.
Well, you have to have organisms first to create, like the microbial mats or whatever, right? I mean, is that from the?
We're getting there.
Okay.
Well, primarily, we differ from Venus in the following way. We had an atmosphere that was 90 times as dense as it was, okay, back when Venus was formed. It never got rid of its very dense atmosphere. The Earth, on the other hand, was a little farther away from the sun. So something magical could happen here that could not happen on Venus.
Magic?
And what's that magical thing that happens here because we're farther from the sun that Venus couldn't have happened there because it was too close to the sun? It's not a test.
Oh, thank goodness, because I'm freeze at test. Well, it has to do with being in the Goldilocks zone, of course.
Yes, that's right.
What is it? We have the moon, or I'm not really sure.
Right. Well, what are the requirements of the to say you're in the Goldilocks zone? You have to have a stable
liquid water.
You got it exactly right.
That's it.
And where's the liquid water come from on our planet?
Inside, right? Coming out from the volcanoes. Did you just say that?
In addition, yeah. But what else would that very heavy atmosphere?
Ice.
Rain. It finally began to rain on our planet. It couldn't rain on Venus.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now, Venus had a lot of water vapor at one point, but a lot of it got, changed to something else, disassociated, right? But the atmosphere never got rid of those materials. It never drove those materials down into an ocean that could absorb the carbon dioxide. They could absorb all the materials that an ocean would normally absorb. When it started to rain on our planet, that led to something called climate and something called weathering. So now we had these raised areas on our planet that were continents raised up from the fracturing and the movement of crustal plates. Okay. And then there were low spots and the rain collected in there. That's a very simplified view, but that's what really happened over time. Again, the universe has time in abundance, right? So that said, climate and weathering then occurred, which actually did something very special, and it led to who we are today. And it has to do with a property of rock strata when struck by water. Water is a universal solvent. Okay. And
Interesting.
when it started to rain, it was raining for millions of years, by the way. So the weathermen would have been, well, more rain today, and that's it. I mean, that's what the weather reports would have been. So bottom line is they would have just been able to say, well, we're just having more rain today, and that's all there is to it. Sorry, folks, wear your raincoats. But the truth is, when you look at what happened with the rain striking the land, as the water runs over the rock, okay, because it was rocks first, right, before it was weathered into soil, okay. When it ran over the rocks, one of the things that happened was it was very easy for certain elements to be dislodged because of the water and the rock strata. When the water was striking the rock strata, you could easily get sodium and chlorine ions, okay. Sodium ions would come off the rock strata and drift into this increasingly deep pool of water. Chlorine ions would continue to come off. And so what happens is the chlorine ion is negative and the sodium ion is positive. Opposites attract. So, chlorine needs an electron, and sodium has one that it can readily give up. So when a sodium atom and a chlorine atom come near each other, the sodium atom will allow the chlorine atom to share its electron. Hey,
nice.
Hey, cool. And that sharing is called an ionic. It's an ionic bond, is what it's called. But when you have a sodium chloride ion, you have a salt. And this leads over time to a salty ocean, and it gets to a certain amount of saltiness. Okay, and I've heard people say, I think aliens seeded life here. They brought it here. That's a tough one to swallow, because everything about us says ancient ocean relation.
Especially the salt, right?
Yeah. Now, our salt content is much lower than the ocean salinity, but that's okay. We're looking at a salinity level that comes from our vestigial salt content when we came out of the ocean originally as creatures walking on land for the first time. And
interesting.
Yeah. And, no one can say exactly how that happened. We follow the chain of the fossil record to see where that happened. But suffice it to say that we know where the sodium chloride comes from. We know where the salts in the ocean come from. Now, salts are a huge family. It's not just a sodium atom and a chlorine atom. There's all kinds of other salts. You can have magnesium salts. You can have other salts, right? But the point being that the predominant salts that we are familiar with are the sodium chloride salts, right?
Okay.
They're crystalline when they're dry. Well, now we have this young planet making oceans. Its atmosphere is thinning out from 90 times denser to much thinner. We now have an ocean, okay, with sodium chloride salts in it and other things washed in off the land. And the water is doing something in particular that's really interesting. It's taking the high content of carbon dioxide that used to be in our atmosphere, and it's sucking it in like water going down a drain. And that's why the oceans are called a carbon sink. They will actually allow the carbon dioxide to be pulled out of the atmosphere and put into rock strata and mineral strata on the bottom of the ocean. Calcium carbonate. Okay, it's a carbon-based compound. Okay, so as an example, so we have lots of ways in which the carbon gets sucked out of the atmosphere. So now the heavy water vapor content drains out of the atmosphere because it can rain. The carbon comes out of the atmosphere, and over time, similar processes like that will bring our atmosphere down to a much less dense amount, and that's kind of where we are now. But let's go back now to times in our history when the universe wasn't so kind to us. It was very kind to us, wasn't it? Making our planet.
I think so. I'm glad I'm here. Very nice.
I'm glad you're here too.
Oh, thanks. I'm glad we're all here.
Or else I'd be just talking to nobody, and then there'd be a blank panel there, and
That's right.
he's talking to a square again. So no, but the point being that when we look at our planet, okay, and we look at the development here, and we look at what happened, well, the universe does throw curves at us from time to time, and the first curve, among others, that it threw of any significance was 252 million years ago.
Wow.
Now, back then, we had plenty of life forms on this planet. We had little creatures that were starting to evolve that would potentially become mammals down the road. Okay, mammals were mammals. Okay, so they were first evolving there, and there were other creatures all over, in the Permian era. But then, at the end of the Permian, something amazing happened. The temperature the temperature on Earth rose 21 degrees Celsius in a very short few weeks. And then it heated up the oceans. It made it impossible for oxygen to stay in the water. And 96% of all the life on the planet was extinguished from that event.
What caused that?
Back then, they're in the region that's known now as the Siberian Traps region. Okay. It's a region of Siberia, obviously. There was a volcanic plug. That is a lava eruption was trying to come out from the ground, a flood basalt, which is like a big fissure, but it formed a cap for whatever reason. And so the lava had to shunt to the side, and that formed a cap, and it kept forming caps. And so now the lava was pushing out for many miles in all directions and not able to erupt to the surface. So as the lava pushed through the ground, it was pushing through organic material, which would, of course, liberate lots and lots of carbon dioxide. So as it went through this subterranean chambers and caverns and subterranean soils, the lava pushed through in these lava dikes, okay, and ended up causing this massive amount of carbon dioxide to be pushed along with it. And finally, at some point, it gave way, and it was able to come out from the far sides and go up into the sky, and it put many billions, with a B, billions of tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere in just a few days to a week.
Wow.
And that rose temperatures by 21 degrees on our planet.
Is that a massive greenhouse effect?
Exactly so. And it actually caused, it was CO2, and it made a massive extinction event that we called the Permian extinction. Right? And I'm telling you, the Permian extinction wasn't a place where you'd like to be.
No.
No, 21 degrees is a lot, and you're asking the oceans to absorb a lot when you're raising its temperature by 21 degrees. Okay, so then at that point, the creatures that I talked about that would become mammals kind of were removed from their niche, and basically what was left of them was just a tiny little pittance of what it was before. But they still existed. They just didn't persist long, in the quantities that they were before. But the creatures that did exist and did not feel the pinch and that liked the heat.
I like the heat. Yep.
But you are not a dinosaur.
No.
You're not a reptile. And it's at that point in the Permian era where the age of the reptiles began and the basic age of the dinosaurs. And so Earth said, hey, you big guys can now dominate the planet. All right. So they did. That's right. They stomped around. They had a little more oxygen in their atmosphere by the time they really got to full
big
development. Yeah. So everything started to come back, and the creatures that would be the mammals retreated into the smallest little niches. Right. And of course, the universe just has a way, doesn't it?
Always finds a way, right?
Yeah, it does. And so the universe found a way to even the score. And 65 million years ago, the Chicxulub impactor occurred, which was a asteroid that struck just north of the Yucatan Peninsula. And the scar can be seen with seismic data. You can actually see the round crater left by this impactor on the
Cool.
ocean floor. Yeah, it hasn't disappeared. It's just underwater and under other strata that covered it. And that threw an entire pall of dust up into the sky. That pall of dust then blocked out the sun for weeks. And you block the sun, and plants can't get the nutrients they need and they die off, right? So then, if the plants die off, well, plant eaters don't have enough food and the plant eaters die off. And then what?
I see where you're going with this. This is scary.
And then the meat eaters die off because they were eating the plant eaters. Okay. So that left us with a planet in decline, except shining little star amid the pall of dust overhead. Waiting in the wings were those little creatures that would become mammals. And they were able to rise to prominence once again, because now the cooler planet was more suitable for them. And so the cooling process that ensued allowed them to come to prominence. The dinosaurs left a lot of empty niches. They rapidly filled them. And it's been that way ever since. You know, now I have a record of the carbon dioxide on the planet for millions of years. And it's, I wish I could show you. It's a dynamic program which shows the fluctuations. Yeah. And what's interesting about it is the carbon dioxide has always done this. Okay. It's never like this. It's not doing this, not raising up because we're here. It's doing this. It's always going up and down throughout the ages, up and down. And right now it's sort of a little uptick, but the one before it's way up here. Okay. So it's sort of a little uptick. Is it going to go up high? We don't know. Okay. But you know, you have these environmentalists who take a snapshot and just say, this is how it is. Oh gosh, it's going up. We're all going to die.
Yeah.
No, we're not all going to die. Okay. If we can survive the Permian extinction with a 21-degree rise in temperature, I think we'll handle a 0.4-degree rise. Okay. So, you know, obviously the biomes on the planet changed accordingly, right? Where you live in Arizona, you're not going to see, unless you drive way up north, you're not going to see an oak. You're not going to see a juniper tree. You have to see them by driving toward Flagstaff. And as you climb, that becomes the biome where they can exist. Where you are, it's more of a scrub with desert and saguaro cactus. And people say, oh, look at the ugly desert. Oh, no, I think the desert's the most beautiful thing on the planet. Okay. And the thing is, you look at the desert, you look at how life has eked out a survival capability in that desert.
That's true.
Is absolutely astonishing. It's not an empty desert. It's full of life. It's full of life, albeit in the summer months, much of it comes out at night.
Yes, you have to.
But
no choice.
But let's talk about why that is something that we should look for. At night, you're going to have creatures that can see in the dark a little better, and they're going to have evolved to that status, because if they don't, they're not going to survive. They need to evolve the ability to see better in the dark. So evolution is mutation followed by adaptation, right? So you might get a creature that evolves with bigger eyes. Okay.
Like a ringtail cat or something.
Yeah. And so, exactly. So if it evolves to have, say, bigger eyes, Tara, then what you'll have is a creature that can see in the dark, and its offspring will have bigger eyes, and they can catch food better, they can survive better, and they will be selected for continuance. That's what natural selection is. Okay. Well, let's say we go to a planet around one of these really very low temperature, we call them cool stars, the red stars. Okay, they're usually tidally locked to their star, so they have the same face facing it. So on the front side, it's always daylight and very, very bright and hot, potentially. And then on the edges, it's always sunset or sunrise kind of a thing, right? Depending on how you define it. And back here, it's always dark. So what if you develop back here on the dark side? Well, if you develop back here on the dark side, you might have bigger eyes, right? To be able to see better in the dark. And what would color mean if it's dark where you are? Well, you wouldn't you probably would not evolve the need for colorful exterior, right? Because there's no competition for food that requires color because it's dark over there. So maybe an infrared adaptation would be a better adaptation for you and allow you to catch food better, right? Where am I going with this? Where I'm going with this is that some of the creatures people report they see here are creatures that may very well have evolved on the dark side of one of these red star tidally locked planets. Okay.
Cool.
And those are the ones called the grays. Okay. It could happen. It could be possible, you know.
It could be.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, now we have identified that evolution occurs here. Okay, that's fine. But long-term evolution is something that people, well, now that we've talked about evolution, people say, well, now that we know evolution, it's stopped. No, evolution continues. You know, I'm not going to get into it tonight, but I can give you a dozen species that are showing evidence of evolution over our time of our lives.
Cool.
Over our lifetimes. You can see changes they've made. And again, responses to the environmental pressures. Okay. Some of those evolutionary traits are excellent and help them survive, and some of them aren't, and they won't survive. And they're actually waning in numbers. So, you know, planetary evolution then is going to influence the potential for life to develop on any planet, right? Obviously.
Makes sense.
And it can't emerge and evolve unless it's been naturally selected to based on evolution and the environmental pressures put on an organism, right? So one of the things that we have here is we have an oxygen-nitrogen atmosphere, right? Nitrogen being the predominant one, oxygen 21%. So you have an nitrogen-oxygen atmosphere. However, the James Webb Space Telescope just found what looks like it could be a water planet.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah, kind of like Waterworld, right?
Well, not so cool.
Yeah, and Kevin Costner's in there going, hi, he's waving.
No comment.
I know, right? No, so that said, the James Webb might have found a water world, and it's possible there's life. And why is that? We've talked about this. There is a signature material seen in this water world spectrum, and this water world spectrum seems to show that there might be a signature of an element, a compound actually, called dimethyl sulfide.
Okay, and what's
Yeah,
that?
exactly. What's dimethyl sulfide? Well, dimethyl sulfide is a smell that you're very familiar with, even living in Arizona.
Oh, yeah?
Because when you went to Hawaii, never get to Hawaii. When you went to Hawaii, one of the things that you probably noticed was that wherever there was an area where the tide was out, it kind of had a smell to it that might have been a little stinky.
Fishy?
Stinky, fishy smell.
Okay, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Tidal flats. Like, have you ever gone like to an area of the country, West Coast, and when the tide goes out, you see some mud flats in some of those bays and inlets, and it smells pretty bad. That smell you're smelling, huh?
Isn't it just the ocean? It's just
exactly. In fact, it's called the smell of the sea. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. But what's it from? It's
from
fish. Well, in part, it's actually part of the waste cycle, the waste product cycle of plankton and other creatures. In fact, the dimethyl sulfide compound on Earth is only made by life.
Oh, that's interesting.
So the James Webb has found what looks like dimethyl sulfide in the spectrum of a water planet. So is it possible then that we're seeing direct evidence of life on another world?
Cool.
Right?
Yes.
So we're talking about our evolution, but the evolution of that planet is wildly different from ours. And the reason is because that particular planet doesn't have a nitrogen-oxygen atmosphere. it has a hydrogen atmosphere, only hydrogen. So we can't breathe hydrogen. So
Not yet.
yeah, so what's happening there? Dimethyl sulfide is being made potentially by life. And is the dimethyl sulfide making a oxygen atmosphere that we have yet to detect? It's possible. We could be seeing a planet in the early stages
Cool.
of formation, just like the Earth was. And the Earth probably looked like that at one point. Lots of water, dimethyl sulfide from plankton, right? So you see, we see these parallels, and that's the thing to me that is really the most important here to understand, is that we've got all of these amazing parallels in the universe, and we can draw the parallels to our planet. This world that James Webb saw, that's a hydrogen atmosphere, is called a Hycean world. Hycean, Hycean. Okay, hydrogen atmosphere. All right. So we can't live in something like that, but is it possible that something else can? And the answer is yeah, maybe.
Why not?
You go to the ocean floor to these sulfide chimneys. They spew this mineral-laden water that these little bacteria, these beautiful little bacteria, love to eat this material coming out of these black smoker vents, as they're called, these chimneys, these sulfide chimneys, hydrothermal vents by any other name. And then you've got other creatures that form there and eat those little bacteria, right? And then other little things that feeds on those things, and it just becomes a cascade. Yeah, right.
And they're beautiful creatures too.
They are, and they're weird. Clams the size of your head, okay? Tube worms that have this red protuberance that comes out. It's really strange and exotic life at these hydrothermal vents, you know.
That's cool.
But is that not how life could have formed? You know, where it could have come from? On Saturn's moon Enceladus at its south pole, it's spewing geysers, or as they say in England, geysers of water vapor, indicating also that there might be some hydrocarbons being emitted, showing some heat at the south pole of Enceladus, thanks to Cassini. And
thanks, Cassini.
Yeah, thanks, man. And what does that mean? It means that those could be hydrothermal vents on a 300-mile diameter moon of Saturn.
That'd be so neat.
Yeah. And now let's go this way a bit toward Jupiter and go to Europa.
Okay.
Europa's the second moon out from Jupiter. You have Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. Ganymede's the biggest moon in the entire solar system. Actually, it's bigger than Mercury, and so it's really a planet that's been snared by Jupiter. That's how I look at it. Well, anyway, it's covered in ice. So is Callisto. So is Enceladus. However, Enceladus has these geysers that are erupting material out of it, and we're seeing hydrocarbons from that. So it's very possible that maybe there's life underneath the ices of Europa.
Because there's a rocky core, is a molten core in there? Is that what?
Well, in fact, it has to be warm in there, doesn't it? Because it means there has to be, if there's life under the ice, it means it's got to exist in some kind of medium other than ice. Although there are certain algae that can live in ice, yes. But let's suppose if you're Jupiter here, okay, and you've got Io moving around here, and you got Europa, and you got Ganymede, the biggest moon in the solar system, going around. As Europa goes around, Ganymede's going to tug on it and stretch it. Io's going to tug on it a little bit and stretch it. Jupiter's going to continue to be the mediator, stretching it all and moving it back to position. So this goes on all the time. Io's being kneaded like dough. Okay. And what does that do? Okay. Yeah, it sure would, right? But being an artist, when you want clay to become soft, what do you do with it?
You have to knead it and work it.
Yes. And what's that doing to the clay when you're doing it?
You're warming it up.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly so. And so Europa is getting warm inside because of the kneading process. And so, see, I knew she knew this stuff. She knows more than she thinks she knows. Okay. And when you knead the inside of the planet, that's causing heat. Now, there's going to be some heat from initial formation that's still there. And then the kneading heat, right? That's Kneading for those that may not know.
Okay.
Kneading, right? Well, you know. And that forms heat. And so what that does is this ice mantle, which might otherwise go all the way almost to the core where it might be too warm for ice to form, will melt and make a potentially thick ocean under the ice mantle. And that's what we think is going on underneath Europa's ice, a big ocean. And that ocean could possibly have life in it.
Could have those thermal vents in there, right?
That's right. And we know that life forms at the thermal vents here. But it's not photosynthetic life. Photosynthesis meaning light from the sun causing life. Plankton absorb the light. Okay. They make oxygen, right? They absorb the carbon dioxide. They make oxygen, right? As a waste product. You breathe bacteria. You breathe plankton poop. Okay. So, right. You know,
Not on
right?
purpose. Not on purpose.
Thanks for that. Okay. But the fact is, right, that when you look at the oxygen that might be emanated by these plankton, that's a photosynthetic process. But at the thermal vents, they're miles below the ocean, you know, sometimes. So what happens there? Well, it's not photosynthetic life, but yes, it is. It's chemosynthetic life. Exactly so.
Okay.
Yeah, told you she knows more than she thinks.
Cool.
Yeah. So chemosynthetic life is then responsible for a lot of the things that happen deep in the ocean, right? Because photosynthesis doesn't work down there.
But you said there's giant clams and things like that. So there had to be some kind of DNA for some of these things, right? For them to be giant down there. I mean, because they're the same. Some of those animals are the same things we have at shallower areas, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, every life form on the earth has DNA. There's nothing that doesn't have DNA in it. Okay. So we have to consider that a life form that has DNA, right, is going to exist wherever life is, right? So in other words, it didn't really make sense, I know. But in the deep ocean, we're going to have life forms with DNA. It's definitely a prerequisite to life as we know it.
So which comes first, the thermal vents or the DNA?
That's a good question. Most likely the thermal vents were there before any life. And so it could be that the thermal vents helped life along in some way. And we don't know. And, in my book, The Populated Universe, I'm very clear. None of us know how life began. No one. There's no scientist on the planet can tell you how life began. And that's okay. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Who did that? Did you do that?
I did that.
Oh, thank you.
Great book. I recommend it if you haven't read it yet.
Yeah. Well, you were my editor, so that was very nice.
Great book.
Yeah. But the bottom line is, right, that when we look at life on our planet, okay, the extent of life on our planet is limited to certain biomes where certain creatures can live, right? You're not going to find a platypus in the Arctic, okay?
Right.
You're not going to find a human down there in the South Pole hunting with a spear, okay? It's all has to do with the environment that they're evolved into. However, in the same way, you won't find a deep ocean fish in shallow water. It'll kill them because they evolve into that pressure. So life forms that form elsewhere, say under the European ices, you got the weight of that ice pushing down and the weight of the water pushing down on them. However, it's only 2,000 miles across. So in diameter, that's how big Europa is. So you can imagine going down into that ocean, you can go pretty deep and not feel the same kind of pressures that we feel by going, say, 5 miles underwater here.
Okay.
You won't feel the same pressures going 5 miles underwater there. Okay, the gravitational force is way much less. So we might actually be able to go deeper with our instruments when we finally get there. And I say finally get there because we do have a mission to Europa planned called the Europa Clipper.
Ooh,
And that's right. That's right. And it's gonna actually gonna be one of two. The second mission is gonna be the Europa Lander. And that Europa Lander, they're still trying to figure it out, but they might try to drill through a shallow spot in the ice where a geyser's coming through and deploy a tiny submarine that can go down and sample the interior of Europa for the first time. I think that's the coolest thing.
I think that's going to be one of those things that everybody's going to want to see, I think, and
Yeah, I'll bring it to you live if I could do it
Mhm.
in Skytour live stream.
Oh, cool. Hey, not to change the subject, but we have 5 minutes left. I just want to remind you about the winner.
Yeah, I
4
want
minutes
to.
left, actually.
Well, we have Calabos out there. Calabos, are we still good here? You still taking entries?
He has been. I've been seeing people are doing it.
So
So let's see what he says and stuff.
I'm waiting. Yeah, I'm gonna wait for him. Now, I asked him if we've got a winner, so I'm gonna wait and see.
Okay.
But so that's pretty cool. Now, next week we're gonna talk about something called the Cosmological Distance Ladder. This, and just give a little summary. This is how we find distances to things in the universe, and the ways in which we do it vary depending on how far away we have to look. Okay. Okay, I'm getting a message here. Hold on, folks.
Is it old schoolboy? Old schooly?
No. I actually have the winner here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now you say how much time we have left?
We have now 3 minutes.
Okay. Well, once again, folks, the Skytour live stream observatory is a nonprofit organization, and thanks to Calabos and Tiffany, who are in the chat tonight, we give away through them equipment, telescope equipment, right? And among them, we give away telescopes themselves, we give away binoculars, and we're going to eventually be giving away some night vision equipment like the Aurora Sport night vision binocular. Tonight's giveaway is for a pair of binoculars, a Celestron Cometron binoculars, which are 7x50. That's the a typical binocular you can hold in your hand and not have everything shaking around. In time, maybe we'll do 20x60s, in which case you'll need a tripod or a monopod or a table to put it on and look, because 20 power is pretty strong.
Heavy, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What I want to do is I want to announce the winner tonight. And I believe I got the winner here. And I would just like to say congratulations to the winner of our Cometron 7x50 binoculars. The winner is, drum roll, please. Do you have a drum roll?
Okay, not a great one, but bing!
Ronald from ERRT Radio.
Oh my God.
Cometron binoculars. Ronald, congratulations.
Way to go, Ronald.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I also have to say that, a lot of people in the chat have been tremendous supporters of Skytour, Ronald among them.
Yeah.
And, we're trying to do the best we can in educating people about astronomy. As an astronomer, I mean, this is what we look like, such as it is. Okay. We actually, I actually spent my life fighting the arrogance of science. And so I've maintained an open number and an open mind. Okay. And that open mind is something that I've cherished, because if you can fight the arrogance of science, you can stay open and see the new possibilities. Right. That's what I've done. And I'm glad I've done it, because it's brought me to this point, and I'd never trade it for a million years. You get to know people like her.
And I get to know people like you, and you get to teach all of us about astronomy, and it's things that we just never really knew.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah. Really, and we're all learning. I mean, just because I have a degree in astronomy doesn't mean I know everything. I certainly don't.
You know a lot, though. You know a lot.
Well, I know a little about a lot.
Yep.
Maybe a lot about a little.
Oh, I know that it's time to go.
I know. Well, folks, you've done it again. You've completely enjoyed hopefully this last 2 hours with us. Kind of a different show, but it was really good having you with me, Tara, like this. This is great.
Thank you, Mark.
I hope you had a good time. I really enjoyed the interaction with you. Marianne is in the chat too, by the way.
Hi, Marianne.
Hi, everybody, and so forth. Bill, you going to come in, or are you actually going to stay out of our show? Are you? There he is. Get in here. There he is. Yeah. Okay. I want to thank Bill as well, our esteemed producer. He has been tremendous in helping us in a variety of ways. He's the guy that, along with Keith from P&K Space Imaging, got me to stream, number one, and he was the one that primarily got me to do Sky Tour Radio, which we're doing now.
Way to
It's
go,
all-
Bill.
And it's all his fault. And he didn't hear a word I said
No,
until
I
just
did.
now.
Well, anyway, everyone have a great night. Be well.
Thank
And we'll do it again next week, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And we had a wonderful show planned for next week. We're going to talk about the cosmological distance ladder,
Cool.
how we find distance is the thing. And once again, congratulations to ERRT Radio, Ronald, our good buddy and part of the Sky Tour family. You win the Cometron 7x50 binoculars. Well done, Ronald.
You
Thank
deserve
you.
it. That's
Yep.
great.
Good night, everybody. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Good night.